Imagine a world where death is a spectacle, where warriors fight not for glory but for survival. Welcome to the world of gladiators. An enigma shrouded in the mists of history, the gladiators were more than just fighters. They were symbols of power, of courage, of brutal reality. They were men who were thrust into a deadly arena, their lives hanging by a thread, their fates decided by the whims of the crowd. In the heart of the Roman Empire, these warriors were the centerpieces of a society that was both fascinated and horrified by the spectacle of death. They were revered, feared, and often pitied. But who were they really? What drove them to fight, to risk their lives in the name of entertainment? These are the questions that have baffled historians for centuries. The gladiators were a paradox of their time. They were slaves, yet they were heroes. They were outcasts, yet they were celebrities. They were victims, yet they were survivors. And in this strange dichotomy laid the mystery that surrounds them. But the gladiators were not born into this life. They were made. They were forged in the fires of hardship and honed in the crucible of combat. They were the products of a society that valued spectacle over humanity, and they were the embodiment of its darkest desires. Today we're going to unravel this mystery. We're going to trace the history of the gladiators, from their humble beginnings to their tragic end. We're going to explore the world they lived in, the battles they fought, and the legacy they left behind. We're going to delve into the records, sift through the ruins, and piece together the story of these legendary warriors. But this is not a journey for the faint-hearted. It's a journey into a world of blood and sand, a world where life was cheap and death was a spectacle. It's a journey into the heart of the Roman Empire, into the world of the gladiators. So brace yourselves, tighten your grip, steady your nerves, because the arena awaits. Join us as we delve into the bloody secrets of gladiators. The gladiators, these fearsome warriors, weren't born from the heart of Rome, but from a tradition far older and darker. Imagine ancient Rome, a world where the clash of steel and the roar of the crowd echoed through grand amphitheaters. But the story of the gladiators starts long before Rome's golden age. The origins of gladiatorial combat trace back to the Etruscans, a civilization that predates Rome. For them, it was a solemn ritual, a blood sacrifice to honor the dead. When Rome rose to power, it absorbed many Etruscan customs, including this one. But in the hands of the Romans, these fights transformed into something different, something grander and more terrifying. They became a spectacle, a display of Roman might and power. Who were the men and women who fought in the arena? Many were prisoners of war, captured in Rome's numerous military campaigns. Others were slaves, sold into this brutal life by their masters. Criminals too, sentenced to fight as punishment for their crimes. These were the people who were thrown into the arena, pitted against each other in a fight to the death. But as the popularity of gladiatorial games grew, so did the demand for fighters. This led to the establishment of gladiatorial schools, where free men and women could choose to train as gladiators. They were drawn by the promise of fame, wealth, and the adoration of the crowd. In a twist of fate, these once despised figures became celebrities of their time, revered and idolized by the very society that had enslaved them. The evolution of gladiators, from captives and criminals to celebrated warriors, reflects the changing attitudes of Roman society. What started as a dark ritual became a beloved pastime, an integral part of Roman culture. From slaves and prisoners to revered warriors, the journey of gladiators was just beginning. Being a gladiator was far from the romanticized notion we often hold. It was a life filled with blood, sweat, and tears. The daily grind of a gladiator was grueling and unforgiving. Their lives were defined not by glory or honor but by the harsh reality of survival. Training was a major part of a gladiator's day. They would rise with the sun, and their day would be filled with rigorous physical exercises. These included practicing with weapons, building stamina, and learning how to take a hit. There was no room for weakness or hesitation, as the next fight could always be their last. Their living conditions were far from luxurious. Gladiators were often confined to barracks, crammed in with others, with little privacy or comfort. These quarters were stark and functional, a constant reminder of their status as commodities, not men. Yet within these walls, friendships and camaraderie often blossomed, a testament to the human spirit's resilience. The diet of a gladiator was surprisingly vegetarian. They were fed barley, beans, and dried fruits to keep their bodies in fighting shape. There was no feasting on lavish meals. They ate to live, not to indulge. And then there was the society's view of them. Gladiators were a paradox. They were admired for their bravery and strength and yet looked down upon for their profession. They were the epitome of masculinity, yet they were branded as social outcasts. They were cheered in the arena, yet shunned in the streets. They were the heroes of the games but the villains of society. Life as a gladiator was a study in contrasts. It was brutal and harsh, yet it was also a life of discipline, determination, and resilience. They were more than just fighters, they were survivors, living each day as if it were their last. In the eyes of Rome, they were simultaneously heroes and outcasts. The Colosseum roars, the crowd thirsts for blood, and at the center of it all stands the gladiator. The gladiatorial games were not simply spectacles of violence and bloodshed. They were a complex socio-political institution deeply embedded in the Roman culture. The games were usually staged by the wealthy and the powerful, as a means of demonstrating their influence, appeasing the masses, and honoring the gods. There were different types of fights and gladiators, each with a distinct role and set of equipment. The murmillo, heavily armed with a large shield, short sword, and a helmet with a fish on top, a symbol of the sea god Neptune, would often face off against the retiarius, a lightly armored gladiator armed only with a net and a trident, symbolizing a fisherman. Then there were the bestiarii, who fought against wild animals, a spectacle that showcased man's dominance over nature. The gladiatorial games, though brutal and bloody, were more than mere slaughter. They were carefully choreographed performances, where each move was a dance between life and death. They were a showcase of courage, skill, and determination, where the gladiator had the chance to win glory, honor, and the adoration of the crowd. However, the games also exposed the darker side of Roman society. They were an expression of the Romans' insatiable thirst for violence and spectacle, a reflection of the power dynamics, where human life could be reduced to a mere commodity, to be bought, sold, and discarded at will. The gladiator, at the center of this spectacle, was both a hero and a victim, a symbol of Roman valor, and a reminder of the brutal reality of life in ancient Rome. He was a slave, a prisoner, a warrior, and a performer, all rolled into one. In the brutal world of the Colosseum, only the strongest survived. But the gladiator, whether he lived or died, was immortalized in the collective memory of Rome. His story etched in the sands of the arena, his spirit echoing in the roars of the crowd. In the brutal world of the Colosseum, only the strongest survived. All stories must come to an end, and so did the tale of the gladiators. Our journey through the era of gladiators in ancient Rome has been filled with blood and sweat, triumphs and defeats. However, like all other spectacles of history, the gladiatorial games too faced their twilight. The downfall of gladiators was not a sudden event, but a gradual decline shaped by changes in societal values and the economic cost of the games. As the Roman Empire expanded, so did its cultural and societal norms. The once brutal and violent spectacles that entertained the masses began to lose their appeal. The society which once thrived on the thrill of the fight started questioning the morality of these life-or-death battles. The gladiatorial games, initially a way to honor the dead, had spiraled into a form of entertainment that now seemed grotesque and inhumane. Additionally, the economic cost of these games was becoming increasingly burdensome. Training gladiators, maintaining the arenas, and providing lavish spectacles were expensive affairs. The costs were often borne by wealthy individuals known as editors, who organized the games to gain popularity and political favor. However, as Rome's economy fluctuated, so did the willingness of these editors to finance the games. The grandeur and frequency of the games started dwindling, and so did the number of gladiators. The final nail in the coffin was the rise of Christianity. The new religion condemned the gladiatorial games as sinful and barbaric. The Christian emperors who came to power enacted laws to restrict and eventually ban these games. The last recorded gladiatorial fight took place in the 5th century, marking the end of an era that had lasted for nearly 700 years. So, the tale of the gladiators, once a symbol of Rome's might and glory, faded into the annals of history. The arenas that once echoed with the roars of the crowd fell silent. The gladiators, once the stars of Rome's bloody spectacles, were relegated to the shadows. As Rome changed, so did the fate of its gladiators. The era of gladiators may have ended, but their legacy continues to echo through the ages. As the dust of the Colosseum settled and the roars of the crowd faded, the gladiators, these formidable warriors of ancient Rome, found a new life. Not in the flesh, but in the collective memory of humanity, influencing modern sports, entertainment, and our very perception of heroism. Consider for a moment the world of sports. The spirit of competition, the thrill of the fight, the glory of victory. These are elements deeply ingrained in our modern games, from boxing to football. The gladiatorial ethos, that fierce determination to triumph against all odds, is a thread that weaves through the tapestry of present-day sportsmanship. And yet, the legacy of the gladiators extends beyond the confines of the sports arena. It has permeated the realm of entertainment, casting a long, formidable shadow over the landscape of popular culture. Gladiators have become a staple of the silver screen, from the silent epics of early cinema to the high-octane blockbusters of today. They are the archetypal heroes, their stories of courage, survival, and defiance resonating with audiences across the globe. But perhaps the most enduring aspect of their legacy is the romanticized image of the gladiator. This is not the blood-soaked slave, driven to fight for the amusement of others, but the noble warrior, the champion of the people, the embodiment of honor and bravery. This image, as much a product of imagination as of history, has captured the hearts and minds of countless individuals, inspiring works of art, literature, and even fashion. In essence, the gladiators have transcended the brutal reality of their existence to become symbols of strength, perseverance, and courage. They serve as reminders that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can prevail. From the sands of the Colosseum to the screens of Hollywood, the gladiator remains a symbol of strength and courage. From slaves and prisoners to revered warriors, the journey of gladiators is a tale of survival against all odds. We've taken a deep dive into the world of gladiators, a world filled with blood, sweat, and cheers of the crowd. Starting from their origins, we've seen how these heroes of the arena were often not born, but made. Born from the ranks of slaves and prisoners of war, they were thrust into a life of combat, not by choice, but by circumstance. Their lives were far from easy. Day in, day out, they trained, honed their skills, and prepared for their next battle. The specter of death was a constant companion, but so too was the hope of glory. For a victorious gladiator, the roar of the crowd was a testament to their bravery and skill. The Gladiator Games were a spectacle like no other. From the grand arenas to the exhilarating fights, they were the blockbuster events of their time. Yet, they were also a window into the brutal reality of life in ancient Rome, where life and death were often decided with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But as with all things, the era of gladiators came to an end. The fall of the Roman Empire brought with it the downfall of the gladiatorial games. Yet, their legacy lived on. Even today, the image of the gladiator is synonymous with bravery, skill, and the will to survive against all odds. As we close the book on gladiators, we are reminded that their spirit, their struggle, and their legacy still resonate today. They were more than fighters, they were symbols of endurance and courage. Their stories serve as a reminder of the power of the human spirit, a testament to our ability to rise, fight, and survive no matter the odds. And so we salute the gladiators, not for their battles, but for their resilience. They may be gone, but their spirit lives on, echoing through the ages. As we close the book on gladiators, we are reminded that their spirit, their struggle, and their legacy still resonate today.